about your experience as a B-17 tail gunner.
Sure.
Yeah. Larry, can you tell me why did you join Army Air Force doing?
Well, in our era, we were not going to fight with the Europeans or anybody else. We would help them with. We were just experiencing a very tough 10 years of nobody having any money. But when the war started in Europe, England got bombed in September of 1939. And when they got bombed, we started sending Lend-Lease airplanes, ammunition, airplanes, whatever, and send to them and to Russia, because Russia at that time was part of our group of people, and supposedly the good guys. But when Japan bombed us in Pearl Harbor, that made everybody mad, and everybody says, well, we want to defend our country. This is our country, and we want to defend it. Well, I was in high school, and when I was in high school, I was just a sophomore. So when I got to be right at the age of graduating from high school, I went with two other friends that were going in the service. I said, well, if you guys are going in, I have nobody to pal around with, so I went with them. And we signed up in April 10th of 1943. But I was to graduate in 1943, but in June. They had graduated in February. So I signed up with them, but I asked the teachers, can you give me any type of paperwork so that I can graduate with my June class? And they gave me the paperwork, and I graduated with the June class, but I went in the service with my friends in April 10th. We were actually signed up, and they gave us just a month to prepare ourselves, and I ended up with them in San Bernardino, and took a IQ test, and the fellow asked me, he said, what'd you do before you came in the service? And I says, well, I was a high school student. And he says, well, what do you want to do in the service? What branch would you like to be in? And well, we'd all talked about Air Corps, and I said, well, I'd like to go in the Air Corps. I said, I took high school photography. Maybe I could get in through photography. He said, well, I'll have to ask you 12 questions. Well, he asked me 12, because I was in school right up to that time. So he asked me 12 easy questions that I could answer, so I got them all right. And he said, well, you know your photography. So I 2 days, 3 days later, they put 11 of us on a train to go across from California here all the way to the East Coast. And we went right to the East Coast to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and we were in a Claridge hotel. The hotel was on the waterfront of the beach, and the only thing between the beach and us was a boardwalk from the actual water. And there we went into basic training for Air Corps, and it took about just short of 3 months, and then we went from there to Colorado, and we did 3 months of armament, just short of 3 months in Colorado. Then we went to Florida. I can't think of the name of the town anyways, and we went there for another just short of 3 months, and it was Christmas, and December, let's put it that way. So I got 2 weeks, I came home, went back into Avon Park, Florida, for crew training, but to get the crew together. So they had poles there with paperwork on it, and with the paperwork, I came across, looking for I don't know whether it was just S's, I guess that's what it was, but I went there and my name was on this one crew of 10 men, and so we had a 10-man crew of pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, top turret gunner, radio operator, 2 waist gunners, ball turret gunner, and a tail gunner. Well, at that particular time, they put me as a waist gunner, but the fellow that was in the tail didn't like being alone. So every time we'd get in the airplane, I'd go sit in the tail. I bought a dictionary, and I thought, well, if I'm going to sit back here, I might as well learn something. So I went through the dictionary, and it was good. I mean, it helped me with like school, and so we did 3 months of training, January 1st till April 1st, or end of March, and then April 1st we got on the Queen Elizabeth. Well, we went to New York, and then got on the Queen Elizabeth I, and we sailed for England, and it took 5 days. We were all alone, and we just zigzagged all the way through the ocean to Scotland, and they had the bagpipes playing there, and it was a great experience. So everything was fun. I mean, it wasn't. We didn't get yelled at or anything for our training. All our training we did was it was, if I'll use the word, fun. But we got there to the base, the 95th Bomb Group, and it had a great big square B on the tail. And so we walked into the orderly room. There was 40 wallets sitting on the counter, and I asked the fellow, I said, "What are the 40 wallets?" And he said, "Well, welcome to the real world." He says, "You're their replacements. We lost 4 airplanes, 10 men to an airplane, so 40 people." He says, and that was 40 wallets sitting there. And he says, "You're their replacements." So from there, we got they gave us our bedding, and we got a place they have Nissen huts, and the Nissen huts are half of a barrel metal, and one light in the very middle, and it was set up for 2 crews of enlisted men. So we all got a bed, and the next morning we got up, and we got to talk to the other crew. They had about 20 missions in. At that time, it was 25 missions, and so they was telling us that they were on already had been on the first Berlin bombing, and the one guy says everybody was recalled, but he says my pilot decided that he pretended like he didn't understand it, that everything was garbled. So he says we flew in, but he says over the base of the German where they were going to bomb Berlin, and when the base was all cloud covered. So he says we went through a cloud, and as we come out of the cloud, we come out right behind another B-17, and he says the air was roiled, so they went into a flat spin. And he says, I was talking to the fellow that was named Flacky, and he was one of these guys that like the rabbits that get scared in the cartoon. Anyways, he says I was on the ceiling. They were in a flat spin. They were at 19,000. They went into this flat spin, and he says I was on the ceiling of the airplane. My ammunition box was there, and he says my parachute was there. And I kept telling myself, just reach over, put your chute on, and bail out. But he says I couldn't move from centrifugal force. So he, at about 5,000 feet, the pilot and the co-pilot finally got the nose of the airplane down, so they went into a dive. And after they got out of the dive, well, it stripped all the rivets from the plane, but nobody bailed out, and they come back and landed, and they scrapped the airplane because it was all distorted and like they stripped of rivets. So they could walk up to him, and which they did, and they would clap their hands. And when they would clap their hands, he'd throw his hands up in the air, and he wasn't fooling. I mean, they called him Flaky, and he was Flaky. So, or if they even, I'll use the word, goosed him, he would throw up his hands and scream. But he was disarranged. I don't know what the right word would be. And our third mission, the first mission was they call it a milk run. So, and the second mission was a milk run. But the third mission was we were going to bomb submarines on the coast of the channel. And as we went in, we were the brand new airplane, and they put us in the worst spot you could get. It's called low of the low. Can't think of the name. Anyways, it's a bad place to be. So they started. There's two ways that they shoot flak at you. They will take like if you're moving in over the target, they will shoot flak into let's say a square, and hope that you run into it, and that's to whom it may concern. And the other one is if they catch you as a target, they will follow you with a shot of 4, and as it's creeping up, it eventually will get to you because it's a 2-minute bomb run that we're on, and so we're on this 2-minute bomb run, and as they started shooting this series of 4, I called the co-pilot, and Ruby is what we named him. And I said, Ruby, get us off this bomb run or they're going to nail us. And I didn't get any word back from him. So it started, after the first series of 4, started a second series of 4, but each one coming closer to us. And so I told him, Ruby, get us off the bomb run or they're going to nail us. And with that, I looked up, and like I say, we're already almost 2 minutes on the bomb run. And that's when you drop your bombs. But I look up, and my pilot had slid under the whole formation of the other aircraft that we were on the bomb run with, and their bomb bay doors were open, and by then it was too late to do anything. But all of a sudden, my pilot flipped the plane, but the last 2 from 4, 4, 4, and then 1, 2. The next 2 was going to nail us, but he flipped the plane, and as he flipped the plane, the last 2 went off behind us, and you could hear the flak, the pieces of steel at the bottom, hitting the bottom of the airplane, and I mean, it was just, like I say, the co-pilot said, wow, that was meant for us, and I said, well, that's what I tried to tell you. But anyways, we survived that one, double jeopardy. So, when we slid under the other group, I mean the rest of the group that was ready to drop their bombs, the pilot hit the airspeed, and it felt like we were backing. We weren't backing up, but the other airplane went ahead. We slowed down, and then he flipped the plane, and it was that was a miracle that we survived that one. Okay, we flew 24, and they upped it to 30. And after upping it to 30, we got 29 in, and they upped it to 35.
Oh, so they keep adding up your mission?
Oh, right. Yeah. So we ended up doing 35. We didn't get shot down. Nobody was killed. Nobody was wounded. And we what they call, slipped through the cracks.
Did you encounter any Luftwaffe, their fighter?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Can you talk about the experience as tail gunner?
Right. Well, to begin with, in 1943, when our bomb group went there, May of 1943 to December 31st of 1943, they lost 75% of their original personnel. And so after, and we had 2 fighter planes that protected us, the P-47 and the P-38. And then in December of 43, they got the P-51. So, and that's in January 5th, we got Doolittle took over, and the P-51s come in, and it changed, because when we flew, we would fly 156 miles an hour, and their tail was, and they'd fly 300. So they'd come in from the tail, because that's the only spot that nobody could get their guns on the fighters except the tail gunner. So they killed a lot of tail gunners in 43. But in 44, when they got the P-51, it changed their fighting to, it put their planes, their fighter planes had to come in from the nose, but they couldn't come straight in because it'd be like a bullet and they would run into it. So they come in on a diagonal, and as they came in, they would shoot down 2 of our B-17.
So when you got there, they already have P-51 escorting you.
Right. So, yes, we got there in April of 40. Okay, thank you.
44, right?
1944.
Yeah.
So they switched from the tail, because the top turret couldn't shoot the Germans coming in from the tail because we had our very high tail, and or he would have shot our tail off. And the ball turret gunner couldn't bring his ball turret up enough to get to him, so only the tail gunner was the defense. But after January 1st, then they started coming in from the nose, and that changed the tail gunner's life.
Why they change the tactic? Why?
Why?
Actually, why they change from attacking tail to attacking nose? Do you know the reason?
Yeah, the P-51.
Oh,
when the P-51s came in, all the planes, the fighter planes, could only come to the channel, and they'd run short of gas. So they had to turn around and go back to the base, and that left the Germans to protect Germany from the channel to the bomb run. So when the P-51s come in, well, they had to change their, like I say, they come in at 300 miles an hour from the tail, and we were doing 156, and then they had to switch around to make a faster attack. So by making that faster attack, they wouldn't come in on a direct in. They had a diagonal shoot us, and they would shoot 2 B-17s down by doing it.
So they will just shoot and run, take hit and run away.
Right. Yes.
So they don't want to spend too much time to engage P-51, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
like we'd be going in this way, and maybe they'd be coming in here. If they came in here, they would hit our airplanes, but on the diagonal they could shoot and miss our airplanes.
Okay. Yeah, I heard from the guy in Chino. He said that back then the Luftwaffe, they like to attack from the nose. The nose,
Right.
They don't have gun. They don't have gun.
We didn't have nose guns.
You didn't have.
The F model was just being changed over to the G model, and the F model had open waist windows, and all the air would come in and freeze the tail gunner, and then the G model, they put a nose turret, and it gave us 13 guns, so to protect ourselves. So it was faster for them, like I say, to come from the nose and not have to catch up. Because, like I say, we were doing 156, and then they would come in at 300 at the tail and kill the tail gunner and blow up the airplane.
Okay. So you mean that so you flew with F model or G model?
Oh, G model.
G model. So you have gun already.
Yeah, I had two guns.
Two guns,
right.
nose gun and nose turret and
Right,
tail
right,
gun.
right,
Okay.
right.
So how do you feel about being a tail gunner? When
I love the tail.
Wh-
I felt safe. I don't know. It was a little narrow spot. If I can kind of draw a picture here, I was looking back, and airplane was going this way, and I was kind of in tight quarters, but I had plexiglass windows around me, and I could take and turn and look towards the front by putting my face against the plexiglass window. You know, the clock system. That would be 12 o'clock, and this would be 6 o'clock. Well, I could see up to 1 o'clock on this side, and then I could turn around and look over this other side, and I could see to 11 o'clock, but I couldn't see 12 o'clock. And so for me, I don't know, I felt like I was in the most safe. I could see the best of everybody, because what I saw, I didn't see what we're flying into. I didn't see the flak. I didn't see the fighters for when we got there in April, and we went operational April 25th.